Hi there. So in this video, I want to give just a quick run through of the personal brand business roadmap. This is really the journey that we're all on together. And this is something that I've put together after working with lots of clients, being in masterminds myself, and especially after interviewing so many podcast guests who've all built businesses around strong personal brands, their expertise, and this is really what I've discovered to be pretty much universal. Often people are well formed at the end of the roadmap, but they've missed some really important foundational elements, which make it really difficult for them to push much further. Sometimes people have really got the foundation elements solid, but they've got a blocker that prevents them moving on through the roadmap, which is where success often lies. So I'm just going to very briefly walk you through the roadmap for some orientation. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, then a bit of context. This video is put together for my personal brand business accelerator members. This is the journey that we're all going on together. This is the business that I support people to build a business around their expertise. So this roadmap is really designed to help you have a bit of a system that you can walk through, a tourist guide to what's quite a complicated and challenging journey for a lot of people. So just so you have some context, I'm speaking to my members. Maybe one day you'll think about joining us. And if you want to find out more about that, just head to amplifyme.agency/groups and you'll find out all about that there. But for the moment, let me kick off through a walkthrough. So the roadmap has 5 stages. We have the foundations. Those are the things that you really need to put together to help people understand who you are and what you're about. If you miss this, you'll really struggle to cut through in any meaningful way. Next, we're looking at the authority stage. And this is really what we're going to put together in order to help you stand out from your competition and also resonate very strongly with your target audience. Once we've got your authority components in place, we're looking at building your visibility. It's all very well having strong foundations and some authority, but if nobody can see you, it's all for nothing. You're not going to sell a sausage if nobody knows you're there. Then we're looking at turning all of that into some strong productization, wrapping things up in some solid packages in order that people can say, yes, I want to buy that from you. Then we're looking at sales and scaling and the strategies and techniques and shortcuts for that. So I'm going to run through all of this in a bit more detail now. So in the foundations, we're looking at primarily helping people understand who you are, what you're about, and who you're for. And I'll walk you through stage by stage or step by step. And these aren't actually necessarily in order. Everybody's a little bit unique, which is why personally I like to work through this in a group rather than simply giving this to you in a course, because your situation is unique. And sometimes with a tourist map, you might need a tourist guide to just help you get the right journey and see the right things for you. So we're going to start right back at the beginning with genius. And this is really understanding what it is that people like about you. What is it that you bring to the world that is uniquely you, your zone of genius? Really spending a bit of time understanding that so that when you move forwards through this roadmap, you know who you're moving it through as. What are the unique qualities that you want to build on and lean into? Because if you don't know that, if you're trying to fake it, if you're trying to be somebody you're not, if you're trying to emphasize qualities that actually maybe are weaknesses, you're going to struggle. But if you can really understand and accept your true strengths, everything will be easier. So next, we're looking at your niche. Who are you serving specifically? If you're trying to be everything for everyone, you're going to struggle to cut through, especially when you go online. If you've been operating in a local market with local networks, then you kind of have to be a generalist because there aren't enough people to support you being super, super niche. But online, the game changes. There are millions of people who might be your target customer. So we really need to be super specific and say, this is who I am for. And there are some techniques and strategies around that. Next, we're looking at your value. What is your value to that niche? How are we going to communicate that? Specifically in a form of words with something like a value positioning statement, something like, I do X for Y so that they can experience a certain benefit. There are lots of ways of wrapping up your value, understanding it, getting clear on it, things like value positioning, mapping, and things like that. We'll work through a way of doing this for you. Then we're looking at your website, straightforward. Are you communicating who you are, who you're for, what your value is in your website in a way where you come across strongly, where people can really get to know you in your home base? Or is your website maybe just a bit of a shortcut? Have you got some conversion leaks? Do you have website visitors? Are they turning into customers? All of these things we'll work through. Then we're going to look at, for some people, I would say for most people, what is your framework? Frameworks are a great way of helping people understand how they can get value from you. This roadmap that you're seeing just now is my framework. The personal brand business roadmap is my framework. A framework is intellectual property. It's what separates you from your competitor. If you have a framework, people can see what their journey with you is going to look like. Next, we're looking at lead magnets. This is how somebody can come across your website. They might not be ready to spend money. You haven't built a rapport with them. There's no relationship. So what are you going to give them on your website? They can trade you an email address for, and you now have a relationship. Connections need to turn into conversations. This can't happen on a website unless you have a way of somebody moving forwards with you without spending money. So this is where your lead magnet comes in. What can you offer them in terms of value that they will give you an email address for? And you can then continue working with them through email, nurturing them towards becoming a customer over time. We do that with the welcome sequence. The welcome sequence is a series of emails that you'll send them over a period of time that educate them about who you are, what you do, and how you add value. There is more that I could add here, but in simple terms, these are the foundation steps. Once you have this all in place, everything will be easier. So next, we're looking at building your authority. And this is really where we begin elevating ourselves from our competitors as personal brands, as experts. First foundational element of this is your bio, your biography, a written statement that says, this is who I am. This is why I'm valuable. This is why, for example, you may want to have me as a speaker, as a podcast guest. This is my story, in essence. We provide that in short form so that when somebody's introducing you, it's easy. And when you're introducing yourself, they can rapidly see, wow, yes, this person is for me. I want to help them. So next, we're looking at your one sheet. And this is really a formalization and a document that we can provide to people to say, here you go. This is everything you're going to need to know about me in order to say yes. So have you appeared on podcasts before? Sample questions, maybe links to your social media channels, some sample questions, and your bio, and anything else that might be pertinent to your story. We provide that on one sheet so that somebody can, again, look at that rapidly and say, yes, they're a great podcast guest fit or speaker or summit host or summit guest. They can quickly say yes to you with a one sheet. So then somebody says, yes, I would like to have you as a guest speaker for my community on my podcast. The masterclass is a distilled, super quick 25-minute session with you that allows you to deliver value to a group of people very quickly. It's something you might deliver as a webinar. You might deliver it as a talk. You might deliver it as a little guest expert session in somebody's community. If you have it in your pocket, you can deliver it. At the end of that masterclass, hey, you have a lead magnet that you can offer them so they can get on your mailing list and continue their journey with you. This masterclass is your ticket to appear in other people's communities. An audience can be earned, it can be bought, and it can be borrowed, but you can only borrow it if you've got something to trade with, and the masterclass is that thing to trade with. Next, in the authority, we're talking about the 5 themes of you. A lot of people, when they go on social media, they talk about the thing they do for money, the low-hanging fruit, the easy place to go. And it makes for a very one-dimensional person. So the 5 themes of you are what else can you talk about in order that you come across as a bit more 3-dimensional. We'll go into that in a bit more detail. I won't spend too much time on that. Next, we're talking about your content play. Where are you going to show up online where people can come and call where you are home? That's typically going to be a blog, a YouTube channel, or a podcast. Again, we go through all of these in a bit more detail, helping you make that choice. But your content play is not social media content. It's not this kind of hamster wheel. It's a long-term investment. It's providing a place where people can discover you. And when they discover you, they can go deep. They can spend a lot of time with you. And you can educate them, you can entertain them, you can inspire them in your place. Additionally, this is a place where your discovery is key. Google will find you. YouTube is the world's second biggest search engine. Apple Podcasts, once people find you on there, they'll subscribe to your podcast. They'll spend potentially an hour a week with you. With a blog, it's the same again. Google loves blogs. Again, it's not necessarily my first choice, but for some people it really matters. But establishing your long-term content play so that, again, in the months and years to come, as you continue to invest, the compound interest builds and the distance between you and your competitors becomes huge. Then we're talking about the visibility stage. This is really where we're talking about nurture content. What content can you create? Maybe 20 or so posts that really take people on a journey so that they can understand who you are and what you do. These are posts that you have in the pocket. You don't have to be creating them all the time. You can use them again and again on a cycle in order to educate people. People find you on social media for the first time every day. So once they find you, again, take them on a systematic journey over time. Then again, on the visibility stage, we're building your appearances. We want you to show up places where your audience are. Because you have the authority, you now have license to build visibility where other people have audiences. So we need to get systematic about that. Then we're moving on to the productization stage. And productization is really where the fun happens. And it's where a lot of people leave a lot of opportunity on the table. Most people are used to having one or two revenue streams. If you've been through this journey, if you've built your visibility, if you've built your authority, you'll discover there are all kinds of new revenue streams open to you. You can look at courses, you can look at coaching, group coaching, memberships, books, electronic downloads, events, virtual events, in-person events, training courses. There's all kinds of opportunity open to you. So looking at a systematic way to productize in a way that's layered. So that you're not depending on one or two revenue streams, but you're building a solid foundation of revenue streams that monetizes audience at all stages, from the first encounter, maybe willing to spend £40 on an ebook on how to do something, all the way through to the high ticket one-to-one coaching for maybe $5,000 a year, who knows, or pounds, also pounds. Once you've productized, looking at the mechanisms for getting people towards that purchase, looking at sales pages and funnel systems. I'm not going to go into that too deep at the moment. As I said, now we're looking at sales and scale and systematically scaling those sales. And there are lots of different ways to do that, again, depending on what's come before. How well have you prepared the ground? So community is an important scaling strategy and a sales strategy. It's often said that people need to buy into you before they buy from you. So what are you doing to help people get close to you, spend time with you, get to know you, build rapport and build relationships at scale? This is where things like webinars and masterclasses come in. This is where things like live streams and Facebook groups come in. The greater that you invest in your community, the more it will come back to pay you dividends, not only in direct sales, but also in advocates, in terms of affiliate scales, in terms of joint ventures, in terms of people really essentially becoming your street team. People will help you in all kinds of ways if you've supported them. So community, things like virtual challenges, virtual summits, selling through masterclasses, selling through public speaking. Launches are quite a technical thing. You'll hear the word launches quite often, but a lot of people don't really understand that the launch done right is quite a technical process. And again, if you've gone through the authority play, you'll find that you have a lot of relationships of people with large audiences who will support you, so that when you need something from them, they're there for you because they know that you'll reciprocate. If you've invested in building your audience, that's an asset not just for you, but also for other people. Joint ventures is another brilliant tool. Once you've, again, built some authority and you've built an audience, other people will look to you to help them launch their products. They'll monetize, they'll incentivize you to do that. A lot of the time, you'll see people launching their products online, big courses. They'll pay people with audiences 50% to help them reach new audiences. So your audience and your authority doesn't just serve you through selling your own products, but actually through selling and supporting other people's products. Then at the very end of this, we've got things like advertising and ads. And frankly, I wouldn't touch ads until you had something that was already making money, because it's very easy to lose money with ads. It's very easy to become disappointed and jaded. Ads work, but they will work as an amplifier. And if you've done everything right on this roadmap, if you've really built solid foundations, you've built your authority, you've built some strong visibility, you've productized well, then ads can really support that. If you don't have a functional sales funnel, then putting ads into this is just going to waste money. Spend ads on a well-functioning, well-optimized sales funnel, and you will be flying. So this is my quick run through of the personal brand business roadmap. It's not 100% complete because your situation is different. There are some elements that might need to be adjusted. There are all kinds of things missing. One important thing to consider right at the beginning of this is, why are you doing it? Being really clear on your motivation, because a lot of these things can be personally challenging. A lot of people will skip the content play, for example, because it asks for you to be visible in ways that a lot of people are uncomfortable with. If you're used to doing business traditionally, you're probably super busy. You might not feel that you have a lot of time for social media. You might not have time for a podcast. You might not have time for YouTube. But like a lot of investments, they require a commitment. But the promise I'll make is, if you make the commitment, you will see the rewards. This is something I've seen again and again and again through my podcast guests, that this is what works. But the one thing I also know to be true is that this journey also requires personal growth. It requires personal change. And as one of my podcast guests said to me, your business will only grow when you grow. And that's my challenge to you. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I would welcome you to participate in this journey with me. Just message me through the comments or visit amplifyme.agency/group. If you're in my group and you're new, then I hope this orientation will give you a good foundation within the group. For now, thanks for watching, and see you next time.